Yeah.
We got London on the track.
This is all God's doing, man, you can't plan it. But if the devil's in the details, then I'm satanic.
People's kid, how we doing? It's your boy Kobe back from another video, and as always, I hope y'all are having a blessed day. Couple housekeeping notes real quick. I again want to thank all the supporters at TPK and just say how much I appreciate all the support. Along with that, I also wanted to unofficially announce I'm actually in the works of starting up a new channel and will keep everyone in the loop about the details very soon. Stay tuned. Anyways, got a super dope video today as I'll be talking about the one and only Kyrie Irving and the year that never was for him in his illustrious basketball career. I really think it's a story a lot of you may not know, or at least not without the entire context, so I'm pretty excited to get into the details of everything surrounding why his lone year at Duke was so important even without playing as much as we all had hoped. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. It might be hard to remember a time when the men's basketball program at Duke University was not getting the very best high school basketball players in the country. To be fair, Coach K has always been around, and this has meant success no matter who the players on the roster look like. But the phenomenon of elite amateur talent taking one-way flights to Durham is now at an unprecedented level. As yet another consensus 5-star basketball prospect in the class of 2018 committed to the school a few weeks back, even myself, a lifelong Duke fan and attendee of the university, is starting to wonder if this is the golden age of Duke basketball. Because like I said, it wasn't always this easy for Coach K on the recruiting ground, and there was a time when he not only had to sell the program, but also fight against unattractive stereotypes of what being a Duke basketball player represented. 10 years ago, the players committing to Duke weren't guys like Tyus Jones, Jason Tatum, or Trayvon Duval. Instead, you had Josh McRoberts, John Shire, and Greg Paulus. Not to say these recruits were not capable of being great college players, or even win national championships, thanks John, but the difference in their future ability to perform at the NBA level compared to Duke recruits now was noticeable, if not abundantly obvious. In short, when David Stern and the NBA's Board of Governors decided to impose a 1-year delay on top high school players' entrance in the NBA draft in 2005, the recruiting strategy of Coach K and the Duke Blue Devils geared towards nabbing recruits who were positioned to stay at the school for more than their freshman year. In what I personally assume to be the theory behind this tactic would theoretically bring more cohesion and continuity to Duke teams moving from one season to the next. As a result, the experience and inevitable improvement by staying in school longer would lead to more success against the younger but more talented opposition. Well, as theories are meant to be tested, Duke indeed targeted these types of players, but in a bit of a twist, they actually went through a tough stretch between 2005 and 2009, where finding success in the NCAA tournament against the overwhelming athleticism and pure talent of their challengers proved to be too much to handle. After a 23-point loss to Villanova in the 2009 NCAA tournament, in which speedy Nova guards sliced up Duke by a margin that had not been done in almost 20 years, it appeared Coach K had enough of this recruiting philosophy and shifted his approach in the spring of 2009. No matter the intentions of top prospects leaving school after 1 year, K was now determined to bring in the very best players available. For their opening act, Coach K and Duke decided they were going to aggressively pursue the top-rated high school point guard in the country, a lightning-quick guard from good old Raleigh, North Carolina. Nope, this guy was not Kyrie Irving. It was actually none other than John Wall. Yep, John Wall was the first one-and-done type of point guard Duke sought after in the spring of 2009, and a commitment from him was one that could help the program's current lack of pro talent immensely. More importantly, a vote of confidence from Wall in attending Duke, who would be a surefire lottery pick in a year's time, would improve the perception of Coach K's players not performing well once they've entered the NBA. But with that said, even with one of the hardest pushes I can remember Coach K putting on for one particular recruit, John Wall opted to head to Kentucky in May 2009 to play with DeMarcus Cousins under head coach John Calipari. In what had been a recurring trend to those who followed recruiting battles, Calipari just had the pitch players wanted to hear, pretty much saying, hey, come here for a year, develop some better habits on a pro-style team, and head to the NBA right after. What's there to lose? Not only did the message obviously work, but it made Calipari the premier recruiter in the country, making K and other coaches look second-rate in comparison. So with the bad news of Wall's commitment to Coach Cal, the Duke coaching staff was now back to square one. Having now lost a major recruiting battle in 4 consecutive years, the pressure was mounting on dispelling the notion that Duke players can't hack it in the pros. As the summer of 2009 was now underway, Coach K focused his attention on grabbing one of the top players in the class of 2010. In particular, they shifted their eyes on a 6'2" guard from West Orange, New Jersey by the name of Kyrie Irving. Having just completed his junior year, Kyrie had made the switch from playing at Montclair Kimberly Academy to St. Patrick High School, a New Jersey school known for its basketball excellence. Irving had been on Duke's radar for a while, and Coach K actually had some crazy quotes on Kyrie the year prior. When he was just 5'10" and age 16 playing for the New Jersey Roadrunners, Irving was told by Coach K, quote, "You are going to be one of the best of your generation." Yet flattery was not going to win the basketball services of Irving alone, and Duke really had to portray a vision to Kyrie that would fend off other top challengers. In the case of Irving's recruitment, the two other schools he was strongly considering were Texas A&M and, of course, the University of Kentucky. While I doubt Coach K was too concerned with A&M as the interest seemed more connected to Irving's father than Kyrie himself, Kentucky was definitely going to be a huge hurdle. Because even though it appeared Duke had the edge, Irving's high school teammate and friend Michael Kidd-Gilchrist was also heavily considering UK and ultimately chose to attend there later that year. But as we all know, Irving stuck with his gut after his visit to Durham in the fall and decided to officially commit to Duke on October 22, 2009. For Coach K, Irving was the best recruit he had attained in 10 years, while also simultaneously sticking it to Calipari in a momentous recruiting victory. Thanks to Coach K's assurance that Irving would be given the keys to the Duke offense the following year, the 2010-2011 season was going to be the Kyrie Irving show. Well, that is, until it wasn't. With all this talk about the recruiting woes of the Duke basketball program at this time so far in this video, it might lead you to believe the school is not still one of the top 5 programs in the country. Just to be clear, they were still going to be a good team with or without Kyrie. There is no better evidence of this than the fact that the team got hot in the 2010 NCAA tournament and ended up winning the whole thing. Ironically, the recruiting strategy Duke started to abandon finally paid off, as juniors and seniors comprised the entirety of the Blue Devils' starting 5. Yet as great as the 2009-2010 team was, the excitement for the upcoming year was on another level. After Kyle Singler announced he would be returning for his senior year, Duke could now boast a projected starting lineup of Kyrie Irving, Nolan Smith, Kyle Singler, Ryan Kelly, and Mason Plumlee. Not to mention Mason's brother Miles Plumlee and newly transferred Seth Curry coming off the bench. To be blunt, this team was absolutely loaded, and it all started with Irving at the point. Because as the floor general, it would be his job to ensure all the talent would be able to mesh. No need for suspense. Kyrie came in and did exactly that, putting on a display of offensive wizardry in the first 3 games that just had not been replicated at Cameron Indoor for some time. I don't really mean from a numbers sense, but rather the way in which he was able to do things on the court that were superior to any Duke player I personally had seen up until then. The first big test for Kyrie, however, happened against Jacob Pullen and the number 4 Kansas State Wildcats in the CBE Classic. With Pullen having been a candidate to garner first-team All-American consideration entering his senior year, some people wondered if his experience would give him an edge in outdueling Kyrie in their head-to-head matchup. In an arena comprised of 80% Kansas State fans rooting against Duke, Irving actually admitted to being nervous for one of the few times in his career. But by the time the game started, Kyrie's incredible talents took over, and he had a fantastic performance, scoring 17 points, 6 assists, 5 rebounds, and 3 steals and leading the Blue Devils to an 82-68 victory. Even more notable is that he defended Pullen for the entire match, and held him to 1 of 12 from the field, 4 turnovers, and 1 assist. Easily one of the worst games of his entire career at Kansas State. And even while being named the MVP of the CBE Classic, Irving's best moment as a Blue Devil was still coming up. The ACC Big Ten Challenge is a competition every December that matches up teams from both conferences to play against each other. For Kyrie and the ACC-affiliated Blue Devils, that meant a matchup with Tom Izzo and the number 6 Michigan State Spartans in Cameron Indoor Stadium. As Duke's long-standing non-conference home winning streak was on the line, students camped out in line for several days to ensure they would have a spot. Only 8 days removed from the battle with K-State, Irving's goosebumps were not as pronounced to start the game, and he stomped his foot on MSU's throat from the tip. Despite carrying a veteran club that included the likes of now Warriors forward Draymond Green, the Spartans were no match for Kyrie, and he proceeded to calmly drop 31 points from an array of spots around the court. Along with toying with Spartan defenders, Irving again brought hustle to the defensive end adding 2 blocks and 2 steals. By doing it in a primetime matchup with NBA scouts on hand, Irving had staked his claim as the best player in all of college basketball, regardless of age, and now the question whether Duke could go undefeated became a talking point around the ACC. Finally having gotten his one-and-done type of prospect that had eluded him for several years, Coach K had kept his word to Irving on his ability to fit seamlessly in the Blue Devils lineup, and things could not have been any sweeter. But as all heartbreaking stories go, the turn for the worst was inevitable, and the fate of Kyrie Irving's freshman year at Duke dramatically changed just 3 days later. Going up yet again against the Butler Bulldogs, Irving and Duke had put on another solid outing to continue their great start to the season. Yet as Kyrie poured in 21 points in the effort, the final minutes of the game happened to be the most unexpected time for something wrong to occur. On a drive to the basket, Irving tweaked his right toe after colliding with Butler's Matt Howard. Although it was hard to visually see the damage that occurred, news was shortly circulated around campus days following the injury that it was indeed going to be serious. Kyrie himself admitted the severity of the injury on Twitter, saying, quote, "Situation not looking good, and I'm not feeling good. SMH, worst feeling ever." Just like that, the greatest freshman Duke point guard since Jason Williams was taken from the lineup, and the vision of Irving leading the Blue Devils past Carolina in the regular season was long gone. While Duke was more than capable to adapt without the young guard, the narrative surrounding Kyrie and the possibility of his return was a crucial moment for Coach K and the future of Duke basketball recruiting. Since it was quite obvious Irving was heading to the draft after the year, there could have been plenty of pressure placed on Kyrie to make a quick return to help contribute to their dwindled title chances. This, of course, though, would lead to an increased risk of Irving's long-term health. So Coach K, understanding the implication of this short-sighted plan, announced Kyrie would not return to the team unless he was 100%, putting a priority on precaution to Kyrie's toe. And sure enough, what this meant was a 3-month-plus absence from Irving in the lineup. Granted, the Blue Devils actually recovered pretty damn well without Kyrie, going 22-4 in the games he didn't play, yet it sadly just wasn't the same. Even when Irving did make it back just in time for the 2011 NCAA tournament, the continuity and chemistry that would have developed between Irving, Nolan Smith, and Kyle Singler was noticeably lacking, and Duke got their clock cleaned by Derek Williams in Arizona in the Sweet 16. So in a season filled with every type of emotion, the feeling of incompletion comes out on top on how to describe the 2010-2011 Duke season. And in a lost year for Kyrie regarding his time at the school, it makes you wonder what could have been if he could have just stayed healthy. Like I alluded to earlier, Kyrie's presence at Duke for just 1 year changed the landscape of Duke basketball recruiting. Number one, even though he managed to play 11 games for the school, he showed other top recruits that Coach K could adapt to letting freshmen be the number one option from day one. Averaging 17.5 points per game, 3.4 rebounds a game, and 4.3 assists per game on 52.9% from the field and 46.2% from three, Kyrie easily overshadowed both Nolan Smith and Kyle Singler when he was playing. Number two, the use of precaution with Kyrie's injury by the Duke coaching staff showed prospects that the long-term health of each player with pro dreams outweighed any consideration for just one individual season. Number three, and my biggest belief as to why Irving's time at Duke impacted recruiting in such a positive manner, is because of how well his career has turned out since he has entered the NBA. As a perennial all-star and one of the league's biggest faces, Irving has contributed heavily in elevating the Duke brand in discussion of top NBA feeder schools. Now, to be fair, Coach K and his work with Team USA is another factor on how Duke has become such a recruiting juggernaut, but for those who remember, the gold rush of consistent lottery talent all started with a simple decision from a kid who decided he wanted to be a part of the Blue Devil family. And for that, as a Duke fan, I thank Kyrie for his critically important commitment, even if his time at school still feels a bit incomplete. Anyways guys, that's the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Definitely a little different from what I've been putting out, but it's good to do a piece on your school every once in a while. As always, if you enjoyed the video, please make sure to drop a like and subscribe as I continue to make videos on this channel and eventually my new channel. Hope everyone enjoys the rest of their day or night or whenever they're watching this. I'll be back at it soon. Peace.
Yeah.